gotta be kidding me. No, you do. This has to be an actual joke. I've never seen a company fall from grace so fast and do all the wrong things more than PlayStation ever has. Not only just PlayStation, but companies like Warner Brothers and so many others in this gaming industry are doing all the wrong things and wondering why they're getting all the wrong kind of feedback. And by feedback, I mean declining sales, lower player engagements, inability to actually make a proper product or even do anything right in the first place. Yeah! So I know what you're thinking. Well, Alex, what's going on with PlayStation and the gaming industry? Why are you making this video? Here we go. Eurogamer the other day made an article stating that more layoffs were happening at PlayStation following all of the 12 live service cancellations. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and go back to that again, because apparently PlayStation never learned their lesson, old man. Every time Hiroki Totoki would talk, you would realize, oh, this is just Jim Ryan 2.0. And I'm gonna be real about this. Jim Ryan is the actual PlayStation version of Xbox's Don Matrick. How to take an actual fledgling franchise, an entire company, and burn it all in one fell swoop is truly remarkable by these two gentlemen. They need to be studied in every sense of the word. And even good old Hermie Hulst couldn't save it with his boring as a plank character Aloy as much as he wanted it to. But the fact that we are now actually suffering from Sony and PlayStation wanting to go the live service route, wanting to go ahead and pay for Concord, what was it, like $400 million wasted, burned to a crisp? Everybody's now paying for it. That's probably why your PS5 Pro costs $800. But the actual audacity to ignore every other single PlayStation IP in their back catalog and to completely just say, you know what? Nostalgia? It. I mean, I can just go back and show you all of the games I'm rebuying off of eBay just because I'm literally dealing with all of that nostalgia myself. And the fact that I want to go ahead and play that on the original hardware just every single time truly goes to show that, hey, old games are in fact good, and the actual amount of games you have in your catalog, PlayStation, that you're literally doing nothing with, goes to show that you have no new ideas. All the people that made you great in the first place are in fact gone, and instead of trying to figure out and say, hey, our past was so great, what made it that way, we're going to go ahead and do what everybody else is doing and try to capture that live service dollar every single time. You're going up against companies like Tencent and others who make games like Marvel Rivals and League of Legends, companies that have been doing live service for much longer. And to think that you can just waltz in there and do whatever you want truly goes to show that you not only have massive hubris, you have no idea what you're doing. Just like you didn't know what you were doing when you went ahead and locked PC games away from over 180 countries because you wanted the sign-in bonus. Smart. But you know what? Let's continue with the article to see what actually happened. PlayStation has been hit with more layoffs from its visual arts studio following the recent cancellations of multiple live service games. The layoffs come amid a restructuring of Sony's US studios, as an unknown number of staff from the San Diego-based visual arts studio will be let go this week. Visual Arts supported first-party development, including Naughty Dog's The Last of Us remasters, and while these cuts include staff who contributed to the recently canceled live service game for Bend Studios, among others, Kotaku has reported the layoffs are more widespread. And oh, isn't that fantastic? Let's go ahead and remove the support studios of one of the only franchises you guys actually have left where you finally make games from. But the thing is, you don't make games for that franchise anymore because you were going to go ahead and make Last of Us into a live service game for factions, and then you decided to put the kibosh on that because Neil Druckmann was too up his own ass to try and just go ahead and say, hey, people want to play this, but I want to make a movie instead. Why don't you guys lavish me with praise like you do for Kojima? Because you know what, Druckmann? You're not Kojima. You'll never be Kojima, and the thing is, you are so far up your own self, you couldn't even realize why you're not like Kojima. And of course, the news on that visual arts studio, in fact, does correlate with this directly. Because, of course, yesterday, on top of that, Neil Druckmann stated that when he was asked about The Last of Us Part 3, he said, don't bet on there being more of The Last of Us. This could be it. So look, even though I wasn't a fan of The Last of Us in the first place, I honestly hated the first game. I thought it was really rote and honestly kind of boring. The second one didn't even want to look at as well because the writing was very up its own self. And, the third one, who honestly cares? People like this franchise though, and they like this kind of game. The problem is that this company, like PlayStation, is going ahead and firing all the people that it needs to actually make these games in the first place. And even then, on top of that, their studios were going around making live service games that they never even done before or had ideas for. Here's where the article continues. The news follows several canceled projects from Sony, including a live service game from Days Gone developer Bend Studios, and another from Bluepoint, reportedly based within the God of War series. Moreover, Sony canceled live service shooter Concord back in September, admitting our initial launch didn't land. A month later, it shut down developer Firewalk Studios as the game would remain permanently offline. This time last year, though, Sony laid off 900 staff members, equating to 8% of its workforce. The reductions were predominantly due to closure of its London studio and reductions at Firespite. And if you think things aren't bad from all of that, here's where they're gonna get worse. Are you ready? On the flip side, Sony still has its Horizon live service game in development, which has now added former Bungie senior designer Chris Proctor to the team as design director. At Bungie, his focus was on Destiny 2 weapons. Boy, that's how does she keep getting away with it? How does Aloy still keep getting away with it? Why does the most boring, bland, unlikable character I've ever seen in video games still keep getting games? Could somebody explain it to me? Does Sony have a thing for redheads? Is that what's going on? I don't get it. I don't get it. I put in like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours into the first Horizon game on PC, and I went, oh, this is boring as hell. And then the second one I play tested for 2 hours and I said, wow, this is boring as hell. I don't know how anybody plays those games. 90% of the combat, I'm being facetious by the way, is basically just a quick time event as you're just trying to play a game that looks like a movie, but it's not even good gameplay. Why? You have so many other games in your catalog you choose not to do anything with, and yet here you are still pumping out more Horizon. But you see, the thing is, the layoffs don't end there, because the Until Dawn remake developer Ballistic Moon has effectively been closed. They're done. Kaput, finito, put the kibosh in them. They're done. In fact, that studio is so closed, the only thing that's left is the studio's founder and a few on-hand people at most. In fact, it's so bad that people are sending in bugs to get fixed for Until Dawn remake, and there's nobody there to fix them or patch them. Oh God, dude. Oh, and you know what's great about this? You know what's really fantastic about this is the fact that people will be like, oh, I didn't like the Until Dawn remake anyways. Glad they shut down. That'd be great. You see, when Shuhei Yoshida was on Colin Moriarty's stream talking about why PlayStation has so many remasters, here's in fact what he said. I'm not kidding. He said, you should support the remasters if you want more PS5 first-party games. Well, either a couple of things happened, Shuhei. Either nobody went out and supported the developers like we always hear PlayStation fanboys say, or even good old-fashioned Sean Layden trying to say the exact same thing. Oh, you should go out and buy your games, show your support, pay full price, buy the expensive $200 edition. That's how you keep people employed and support the devs. Well, what happened? Either PlayStation fanboys didn't go out and support the devs like they always say they do, or maybe people are sick and tired of all the remasters happening over and over. You know what this reminds me of? Back in the year 2009. Oh yeah, we're going back there. You see, back then, Square Enix was being asked things about why not make a sequel to Chrono Trigger, even though that already exists and it's called Chrono Cross. Here's what Shinji Hashimoto actually said. Why does everyone ask about Chrono Trigger? Responding to a comment about the title being loved. That's not what the sales tell me. If people want a sequel, they should buy more. You know what it is? That Chrono Trigger is one of my most beloved RPGs of all time. You know why that quote stuck with me? Because I've bought so many copies of Chrono Trigger, wanting another sequel to Chrono Cross and Trigger itself directly. And then this clown card mother shows up and he's like, whoa, what do you mean? Just buy more copies when they make the mobile port on PC and that sells out and they don't fix until like years later. When they put the game on phones and it sells like hotcakes and they still don't do anything with it later. When they do all these things and then finally, nothing. I'm so glad they're not there anymore because that was honestly one of the worst times of Square Enix history in my entire life. But that's exactly what it reminds me of. Well, if you want more first-party games, you gotta buy the remasters, you guys. And not at like just a $10 upgrade. You gotta buy the $70 remaster. You know what I mean? Even though there's just very slight changes to the actual original game. And we just kind of like upped the graphics a little bit and didn't do anything. We don't have any games to show you. We're just going to remaster all the old ones you played before. And then we're going to have guys like Reforged Gaming sit in his chair and do this with his hands all day long. Oh, that's what I want. More remakes and remasters. I don't want to play old games. Who wants to play old games? You tell me. If somebody like PlayStation said, hey, clowns, why don't we just do another SOCOM? Wouldn't that be sick as fuck? That would be like the thing to do for a live service game, not a God of War one. I don't know. We need a competitor for Call of Duty because Xbox owns them now. SOCOM, Navy SEAL. It's so easy. They still don't want to do it. And you know what's even crazier is when you see other companies and publishers like Capcom and Sega have massive amounts of success because they're keeping their budgets in line and in check, or they're doing the things that made them great in the first place. They're not letting go of their history in order to try and capitalize on some really stupid fad that's only going to last for a couple of years anyways. When you see Capcom go through and sell 1 billion copies of Monster Hunter Wilds, even though the PC port is absolute garbage. When you see Sega being claimed as publisher of the year because of the amount of games they put out consistently, even though not every game sells 15 million copies plus, those games have a proper budget, a proper setup, and they are actually budgeted correctly so that way when they sell the actual copies they expect to sell, they are successful and they make their money correctly. I just don't understand PlayStation and so many other big budget companies and publishers and developers that do these stupid things. Luke Stevens made a really good clip the other day, and honestly I wanted to pull that because it really makes a lot of sense. And the problem is basically this, one of the bigger problems, and honestly why I feel like we're seeing so many layoffs happen in this sector specifically. And it's the fact that where these companies are based, the amount of money they have to pay employees to make those same kinds of games compared to other places is astronomically more expensive. The value of a dollar that you get from salary living in a place like California or etc. is far less than what you would get if you were living somewhere else. And we're now in 2025. There's no reason at all why every single one of these companies shouldn't just be remote work in the first place. The only reason why people have an office to go to is because the company couldn't break out of their lease during the actual pandemic. And they're stuck having to pay for office space, so they might as well ship you to that damn office. They could save so much more money and get so much more talent without having to spend all that kind of bank that they're doing right now because they want to live in California or other crazy, insane states and places that have super insane taxes, ridiculous amounts of actual cost of living, and just nobody in there is actually doing their job. They're too busy making TikTok stories about a day in the life of a developer at this studio that's going to get closed down in 6 weeks because I'm too busy making TikToks and not actually doing any fucking work. And this is the part that gets me so incredibly angry about all of this. These layoffs never had to happen. You know why? Because these companies never should have been hiring the way they were in the first place. We have all these companies expecting for everyone to stay inside, and when it didn't happen, now they're shrinking the actual setup, and people are losing their jobs and their livelihood after having to move to multiple states and places to go ahead and get like this. Oh yeah, PlayStation, I can't wait for you to go back and be your single player greatness again, but go ahead and fire everybody else and them, right? All the talent that you're basically losing, all the people that you have to retrain, all the inability for you to go ahead and actually have proper people sitting there and budgeting things correctly. No, instead, we just want to inflate the budgets consistently, make games cost $400 million plus, burn all that money away because we want to have all these really great looking graphics. If everybody keeps using Unreal Engine, every game's going to look the same. It's just going to be a pile of garbage anyways, and no one's going to be impressed by any of that. Look at that Marvel 1943 game. You think that game's not going to cost $1 bajillion to make? You know it's going to play like shit anyways on Unreal Engine. Don't. This industry is too obsessed with visuals and graphics and not gameplay. They're too obsessed with trying to be the next AAA Michael Bay big budget blockbuster movie game instead of just trying to make a video game in the first place. This industry is too obsessed with not trying to focus on smaller titles that can have a grassroots movement to then increase their player base over time and then have the ability to become that monolithic AAA game genre or game franchise that everybody knows and loves. There's a reason why Mass Effect is wanted to become back and why everybody's so scared about it coming back, because of the way EA behaves. But the reason why people like Mass Effect is because how it started from 360 in the first place. There's a reason why Assassin's Creed went from something so incredibly cool, weird, and different and had a really great base and consistently got a lot of great praise and purchases and sales to something that is just basically now just Destiny and The Witcher mixed together with some really weird RPG mechanics that just icon vomited on the screen that just pump out every single year, full of a bunch of other garbage and just crap thrown into it. Game developers and studios and publishers need to stop looking at the actual bigger number or who's making the most money and start focusing on smaller, more detailed projects. We are missing that space where we used to have the AA. It is now being filled by the triple I. I kid you not, that's a real term. Triple indie. No, I'm serious. I get so frustrated when companies like Microsoft go out and they charge $70 for Avowed from Obsidian when that game should not be more than $49.99. And I'm telling you this right now, if Avowed was $50 instead of $70, the hate that game would be getting would be a lot less intense because of the fact that it is not a full-priced game and would fall inside the AA game bracket. People don't have enough money to buy fucking eggs right now, and you want them to spend $70 to $100 on a video game that they don't even know is going to be any good when other games that are free like Path of Exile do it even infinitely better than these guys could. A couple of Kiwis in an office can do a game better than most people just sitting in an office in California with 5,000 people. I'm so sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of watching and seeing people lose their jobs because these companies are financially irresponsible in order to try and go ahead and catch the biggest fish they possibly can. I'm sick and tired of these publishers and developers going around and just breaking everything down to the most lowest common denominator without providing any sort of depth or any sort of like gamer focused centric kind of content, and rather just trying to focus on the most casual audience, basically making everything into a bland slop soup like in The Matrix. Kind of tastes like chicken, I guess. Maybe this industry needs the one thing that's going to be the worst thing for it, but honestly, a second crash would be ideal. Even though people would lose their jobs and it'd be horrible for them in the actual space, this entire industry is so bloated with microtransactions, loot boxes, battle passes, online service games, all this other bullshit nobody wants to actually play, that when a game actually finally does come along, it does the right thing, it's the one that's praised to high heavens and back. But you know it's going to happen every single time. GTA 6 will release, be full of all that garbage as well, and then every other publisher and developer will say, well, they did it, we can do it too. Well, that's not how that works. It's never been how that works! But you know what? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you think more layoffs are coming? Because I honestly feel they absolutely are. And hopefully PlayStation can finally get their head out of their ass and come back to be what they used to be back in the PS1 and PS2 era. Because right now, they're not even close. Not even close. But hey, if you like this video, thank you. If you didn't like it, fuck you. If you want to see more of this kind of content, more PC port reviews, gaming news, Steam Deck videos, my hot takes on the gaming industry, as well as live streams and fanboy content, subscribe to the channel. If you want to go ahead and get Discord access or emotes during live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. If you don't want to spend the buck, don't sweat it. Saturday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern. Come on down to the channel. It's honestly insane. Once again, Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern. This is the best goddamn community of all time. I guarantee it. With all that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you next time. Peace!